On the third floor of St. Elric Hospital, at the very end of the hallway where the floor creaked as if keeping old secrets, there was a room no one ever chose, but fate insisted on occupying. Room 312. That's where Elias Monroe stayed. A man in his early 60s, with skin as thin as aged paper and eyes that always seemed to gaze past the window. He wasn't ill, at least not in the body. He was admitted from time to time, always with the same strange complaint, "I dream." "Too far," he would say softly, "and I can't find my way back." Doctors called it recurring nocturnal delirium. The staff said it was a sleep disorder, but the nurses, the older ones, whispered something else. When Mr. Monroe sleeps, things happen, they'd say. Clocks slow down, cameras blink, lights flicker. That night rain was falling outside, a thin, persistent rain. Inside room 312, Elias lay down as he always did, a blank notebook beside his bed. Before closing his eyes, he wrote, "If I don't wake up, let the dream continue." He closed the notebook, placed it gently on his chest, and shut his eyes. Beside the bed, the heart monitor began to blink in a soft, steady rhythm. His heartbeat slowed, and then for a moment stopped. "Code blue in 312, a nurse shouted, bursting into the room with 2 paramedics. But before the defibrillator could touch his chest, Elias took a deep breath and smiled in his sleep. "No, don't touch him." "He's back," said a calm voice. It was old Dr. Levinson, the only one who still believed in the stories. "Back? Back from where?" the nurse asked, confused. The doctor simply pointed to the notebook, now open, though no one had moved it. There, in Elias's handwriting, were the words, Chapter 1, The City That Did Not Exist. And that's how it began. The story of the man who dreamed too far, and how his dreams began to write reality. What is a dream, if not a place where time walks barefoot? And that's where Elias returned, with a soul as light as snow falling slowly. He had awakened inside the dream once again, and there it was. The city no one remembered building, yet always appeared on days filled with deep longing. The streets were made of pale stone, and the light came not from the sun nor from lamps, but from within the windows, as if the houses were softly telling each other stories. Elias walked slowly, as if the ground recognized his steps. There was no wind, yet the curtains danced. There were no clocks, yet the hours passed. There were no voices, yet everything there whispered his name. "You came back, Elias." He crossed a bridge of curved wood, its arches sighing beneath his weight. The water below was mirror-like, but it did not reflect the sky. It reflected memories. There, he saw his mother's face, younger than he ever knew it. He heard a childhood laugh. He smelled the scent of an old book, open to the page of a forgotten poem. And then, at the end of the bridge, she was there, the woman in the blue dress, always her, always there. She never said her name, but Elias knew her, as if she were a part of himself wandering loose in the world. "It's colder than yesterday," she said, with a smile that warmed him. "You feel the days, even here?" "Here. Feelings shape time." Elias stepped closer. She offered her hand. He hesitated. He never touched, he never dared. "Can I stay a little longer?" he asked. She didn't answer with words. She simply walked slowly, and he followed. They passed through the square where statues whispered poems in Latin, through the garden where flowers bloomed whenever someone remembered something sad. By the bench where forgotten dreams came to rest, until they reached the edge of the lake Elias had never crossed. "It's almost time," she said, gazing at the still water. "For me to wake up?" "For you to choose." Elias looked out over the lake. There was no horizon, only mist. In the waking world, in room 312, the monitor beeped softly. The doctors had returned to their notes. Only Nurse Anna remained, watching Elias with her hand, resting over his chest, as if trying to listen with her fingers. A calm heart is a sign the soul is walking slowly, she thought. She didn't know why that crossed her mind. She just felt it. In the dream, Elias looked at the woman in the blue dress, and for the first time he asked, "Who are you?" She only smiled and said, "I'm the part of you that never stopped searching." Then she vanished, like a memory that knows when to leave. Elias stood there alone in the mist between the lake and the bridge. He knew that when he awoke, the next page of the notebook would be written. He knew that dreaming might be the only way to find his way back to himself. The mist was neither cold nor dense. It was like a silk veil over the face of someone who forgot to wake up. Elias stood there at the edge of the lake where the woman in the blue dress had vanished, feeling time dissolve like ink in water. Something was calling from the other side, not with a voice, not with a gesture. It was a call older than language. Come, just that. A whisper without a mouth. A will without origin. With slow steps, Elias stepped into the mist. Each step seemed to erase him a little more from the world he came from. Not the real world, for that had already drifted away many dreams ago, but the world he had built in his sleep. The mist hid shapes, and shapes hide truths. First he saw shadows, an iron staircase leading to nowhere, a lit lantern floating in the air, a rocking chair moving by itself, as if someone invisible remembered something very sad. Who brought me here, he thought, and the mist answered with an image, a door, huge, dark wood finely carved with symbols he did not know but could feel, circles, spirals, closed eyes, hands holding emptiness. In the center, a keyhole. Without a key, above it words written in a language not of this time. The farthest dream is the oldest memory. Elias reached out his hand. The wood pulsed warm. For a moment, he heard something from the outside world, the subtle beep of a monitor, someone softly calling his name. Anna? But inside here everything was sharper. He pushed the door. Behind it, a corridor, walls covered with old paintings, each capturing a moment of life he did not remember living. A boy hugging a father with an unknown face, a woman crying before a broken window, a man with paint-stained hands writing on a wall. If we do not wake up inside, we will sleep outside forever. Elias walked and the paintings watched him. Each step seemed to awaken a hidden memory, but not just his. Not completely. They were his and another's, of many. As if he dreamed not only for himself, but for those who forgot how. At the end of the corridor, a mirror, dirty, cracked, but there was his reflection, only younger, and behind him a shadow. Elias turned. There was nothing. But the mirror still showed the dark silhouette. He touched the glass. The shadow smiled and whispered, "You're almost there, Elias. You just need to remember what you forgot." The glass cracked, the shadow dissolved, and the corridor disappeared into light. Elias opened his eyes, but not in the hospital, not in room 3 to 12. He was now in an empty field, surrounded by trees tall as towers of silence. In the center of the field, a child waited, sitting on a log with an open notebook in their lap. As Elias approached, the child lifted their eyes, and it was he himself, at 7 years old. "You took your time," said the boy with a voice too calm for a child. "Did they forget to warn you?" "Warn me. About what?" "That the last dream is always the truest." The boy watched him in silence, as if he knew every step Elias would still take. The breeze in that field smelled of childhood, damp grass, colored pencils, notebooks scribbled in haste, and time, there, seemed folded like bookmarked pages of a book already read but never understood. "I am you," said the boy. "What remained when you chose to forget?" Elias felt a chill in his chest. "Forget what?" The boy closed the notebook carefully, as one guards a secret. "That you dreamed too far." He pointed to the sky. But there were no stars. There were maps, paths drawn in light, and each line, each curve, was like a stroke Elias had scribbled. In childhood, and abandoned as he grew. Design machines that fly without wings. Invent a language only for the winds. Save the world, or at least one single life. It was all there. You stopped dreaming. The boy sighed. "And when a dreamer gives up, dreams don't disappear. They hide and wait." Elias knelt before him. His voice came low, broken. "Why did I forget?" The boy touched his face. It was like being touched by memory, because the pain grew larger than the desire, because time ran faster than you, because someone told you it was better to wake up. Silence. Then the boy opened the notebook again. On the last page there was a drawing, a man lying in a bed, wires attached to his body, and around him windows open to the sky. From each window a thread of light entered, touching his forehead. "That's you. Now." And these wires, they are the people who still believe, who still call, who still wait. Elias felt his eyes grow moist. He thought he was lost within himself, but maybe he was just coming back. The boy extended his hand and gave him the notebook. "Waking up isn't leaving the dream," he said. "Sometimes it's remembering it still lives within you." And at that moment, the field began to dissolve into golden particles. The trees turned to dust. The ground turned to sky. The boy smiled and vanished with the wind like a last thought before awakening. Elias looked at his hands. He was holding the notebook. But now, it was no longer a child handing him answers. It was him whole back, or almost. The room was white. The walls held that cold hospital silence. The monitor beside the bed beeped steadily, as if counting the seconds of a wait that had lasted too long. And there, still among the sheets, lay Elias. But there was something new in the air. The window, once shut tight, was now slightly open, and a breeze, light, shy, carrying the scent of lavender and wet earth, drifted in slowly as if asking permission to be there. By the bedside, a woman held his hand. "Elias," she whispered, her voice fragile. "If there's still a part of you in there, come back, even if it's just to say goodbye." A tear slid down her face. Across the room, a nurse came in, checked the vitals, and left silently, as if she too respected the mystery of that moment. But inside Elias, something had changed, like a match struck in a dark room. The memory of the boy, the notebook, the field, the sky shaped like a map, pulsed within him. He had dreamed so far he got lost among his own dreams, and now, little by little, the world was calling him back. Behind his eyelids' darkness, Elias saw a door, simple, old wood, marked by time with a bronze handle. Behind it, whispers, soft voices, childhood laughter, a forgotten "I love you," the melody of an old piano, the sound of waves on a beach he had never been to but had always wanted to visit, and a voice. Not from outside, from within. "It's time, Elias, not to leave, but to choose." His hand moved, almost imperceptibly, but the woman felt it. She squeezed back, eyes wide, hope kindling like fire on dry paper. "Elias." The monitor sounded different, a new rhythm, as if something inside him was relearning how to beat. And inside, the man opened the door, and in doing so he didn't find a new world. He found the real world. But now, with the eyes of one who dreamed too far, and therefore finally understood. He opened his eyes, slowly, like someone returning from very far away, and looked at her. They smiled, saying nothing, because some dreams explain themselves only with a glance. On the bedside table, the notebook the woman had placed there weeks before, scribbled with drawings and phrases from Elias's youth, lay open. On the last page, a phrase had appeared as if written by invisible hands. "Sometimes we need to dream too far, just to remember who we are when we wake." The end.